Welcome, everybody. I'm Beth Shero. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Shero Commerce. Welcome to our LinkedIn Live today. I'm excited. We're going to be talking about the latest updates from Shopify. I know there's so much information going around about the updates, but we had a couple of our team members at one of their recent events in Toronto, and we're going to be inviting Chris Roach from our team to be talking about what he learned there and what his takeaways were. So super excited to have you all join us and get started. I'd love to welcome Chris Roach to the meeting here today to get us started. Welcome, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing great, doing well. It's a pleasure to be on again. I think it's been a couple of months since we've done one of these together, so it's nice to kind of get back in the groove again.
Absolutely. For all the newbies to the LinkedIn Live at Shero, I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm the Director of Solutions Architect here at Shero Commerce. I've been with Shero, I think, a little over 4 years now. I've worked in e-commerce for over 25 years. I've started off as a back-end developer, but I've worn a lot of different hats over the years. I've stayed away from front-end work as much as possible. I've left that to the new generation, but I've helped out with project management, account management, and I've kind of settled in on this Director of Solutions Architect position. I get to use my experience and help with clients with their features and their needs and come up with creative solutions to it. So it's something I really do enjoy. If there's anyone out there that ever does have any questions around e-commerce and this sort of thing, do please reach out to me. I'd love to kind of connect and discuss it as well. But that's my short little introduction.
Awesome. I appreciate it. And I think the interesting thing about our conversation today is you have so much knowledge. You've come from a very different background than the Shopify world, right? So I'm excited to hear what your takeaways were from the event that you attended, and what we can look forward to with the new release that they have and what the direction Shopify is going. So it's a little bit of a different perspective, I think, because you are newer to the space, right?
Yeah.
Than maybe what other people are talking about, but I'm sure there are some similarities as well. So let's dive in here. We have the Shopify Editions.dev event that you and Gavin attended in Toronto. So why don't you kind of just talk about what the event was, and start there.
Yeah, of course. So this was more than just a developer event. This was a celebration for Shopify. It was their 20th anniversary celebration. It was in Toronto, of course, where the company started as well too. But it was pretty incredible. There was a lot of people there. It was definitely developer heavy, which was interesting. Most of the time, a lot of the things that we go to are more about what the future looks like from a business perspective. But
Right.
it's nice to kind of get into the weeds a little bit more and understand, what things are doing from a really foundational level. And so I think it was very eye-opening to see. One thing was great to see is just how much you can tell that Shopify cares about their employees and, is moving in this industry and continuing to, advance and do more with it. There was over 10,000 Shopify staff. At the event, there was around 1,500 developers is how many they opened up for the event. And they focused on a few new features. We'll touch on those a little bit later. But again, the main thing of this was just kind of trying to really, put a big emphasis on community and collaboration. It was nice to be in Toronto. I got to go to the Toronto office. Working here remotely in Savannah, it's nice to be able to go and see some of these large offices and how they operate. I think we've all seen, Silicon Valley or one of these other TV shows where they have a really cool and unique office, and Shopify was exactly like that. They had one of the little robot dogs walking around, some video game stuff. It was kind of interesting to see everyone kind of how they work within that environment, and also just get to meet everyone. Just overall, it was a lot of fun and a lot of positivity.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I continue to be impressed with how they go to market with the solutions they're providing, how they're elevating for partnerships. This really stands out as the next step of creating that bigger community. I know there's always been a Shopify community, but I really see it strengthening even more with having um, bigger events like this and having so many of their employees in there and all of that. And I think it just helps strengthen the message of where they're going, which I know you put some key updates from the event. Would you like to talk through these?
Yeah, sure. So, they definitely talked about a lot of more specific developer features that were added, but there were some other ones that I kind of want to touch base on that I think shows a little bit more of the direction that Shopify is going. And I think it'd be, really beneficial to discuss those. One of the areas is their point of sale development expansion. Shopify is really leaning into this, and I think it's really important to creating a robust POS, you know, workflow to complement your online e-commerce is very important. Allowing both of those to be similar creates this, seamless experience. It blurs the line between offline and online sales, and it creates an opportunity for you to create a cohesive approach to both of them that allows customers to handle both. And it can be very interesting the way that you integrate specific features with this. Yotpo is one of our partners that does loyalty. Imagine being able to purchase in store and online, and using your points that you collect on both of those. So it was really neat to be able to see that as they really lean into it. Also, they demoed a lot of their new Shopify Flow enhancements. This was really interesting because I think it shows how they're leaning in to this future of omni-channel commerce, allowing your site to integrate with other systems, being able to push products to it, just setting up additional flows to kind of automate a lot of these tasks and, just create more time for you to be able to focus on your business. That was really neat. And then finally, they also just continue to show how they're expanding on their API. Shopify with its SaaS platform and the way that it's hosted, there are some limitations to development. And if they continue to open up their API, they give us as developers more opportunity to be able to integrate with the site, create features, and build, new functionality with tools that didn't exist. All awesome stuff, and it was a lot of fun to see those three, and you can see that that's really what they're kind of leaning into. As they move into the SaaS, there's a lot of trying to kind of remove the developer from the process as much as possible, move into the app marketplace. But this just shows that there's still a lot of opportunity out there to create some really neat tools, and we'll kind of touch base on that on the next slide as well.
Yeah, I just want to comment a couple of things on this. If we could just go back to the slide really quick. So I totally agree, and I love this update. Shopify calls it the unified approach with the POS and the e-commerce. I mean, we've been talking about omni-channel for years, but I think the challenge has always been that the technologies never really fully integrate very easily. It requires so much effort, but with this path forward, Shopify is making it so seamless that it's like you don't even have to think about it. It's just the new standard. And I think that's really interesting. And it's going to be hard to compete as they continue to invest in the POS and e commerce experience.
Yeah, for sure. Talking about the flows, one of the bullet points, make sure to call out, the API connectivity that's been added to this, and so a lot of times when you want to integrate Shopify with outside systems, you have to have some middleware for it.
Right.
But this is going to give you the ability to be able to call those APIs or make direct calls outside of it within Shopify. So, it's just, again, giving merchants more tools. And a lot of these flows, there's templates for them. They've already been created. So like you're saying, you don't have to really go out and develop. It's more about just putting in, variables, maybe a little bit of coding here or there. I would say reach out to us as developers. Let us help a little bit and make sure not to break your site if you're not comfortable.
Too much power is dangerous in some cases.
It very much so, but it's moving in the right direction. I think that's what we're trying to highlight here is that they're giving you these additional tools, which, should make you feel more empowered to kind of grow your business.
Yeah, so I want to simplify that second one a little bit more, just so I'm going to repeat what I think I'm hearing, if that's okay, for the non-technical people. So from my understanding, the middleware, let's say like a Celigo or a Patchworks, is typically like a middleware that we're talking about that would integrate two systems that have APIs, or you might build a custom middleware, right?
Yep.
So the Shopify flow eliminates that to some degree. Probably just start for simple integrations, right? But if it's really robust, you're still going to need some sort of middleware. Is that correct? Am I summarizing
Oh,
it well?
definitely. I think that you are trying to look at this at a base level.
Right,
For your NetSuites, for some of these larger ERP integrations, there's so many data flows going back and forth.
right,
I think middleware typically can be a little bit better in those scenarios than what Shopify is kind of offering now. I think this would be for some more of your straightforward integrations. Some things a little bit more on the less complicated side. That's not to say it can't be done. I just, from what we've seen so far, I think there's going to be just it'll be difficult to operate only within Shopify. But
right,
that's not
right.
to say that I don't think that the future is moving in that direction. And, maybe some of these more complex ones are, on the roadmap, maybe next year, 2 years, 5 years out, who knows?
Yeah, yeah. I just think it's interesting because, like, if you wanted to test something simple and not have to worry about a lot of complexity. This is a good starting point, and that's kind of how Shopify. It feels like they start with certain things and then they grow on them. And like a middleware, to your point, like for large ERP, is so critical to have that middleware still because you have to think about how things are queued and like how to manage the data. And I'm not familiar enough with Shopify Flow if it could do all of those things. And I'm thinking it might be challenging in its current state. Is that correct?
I think it could be. When I start to, if you want me to try and think of, a specific scenario, I think connecting it maybe to a contact form. You could
Right,
find a way so someone submits a contact form and you want that push to HubSpot, or you want that push to, your ticketing system, maybe even Jira or something like that. Those sort of integrations would be perfect for these flows. Get the information in Shopify and then push it to that. And you don't need to create any sort of middleware or have any sort of system in between it, because it's a very simple flow. The requirements are very simple. Let's just go ahead and set it up and run with it. Not a whole
I
lot
love
of lines of coding, that sort of thing. It's going to be really awesome, and those sort of flows I think are going to be created. And again, you're not going to have to go out and find someone to build it for you. You're going to find a template for it, and it says, put your HubSpot ID in here, put your contact form information in here, what data do you want to map, and you'll be able to kind of handle that all on your own.
that. Great example. Yeah, I love that. It's very tangible, real, like something that could really empower businesses to streamline things and make it easier. Awesome. Okay. Good updates. Exciting things are happening.
For sure. Yeah. Our next slide, one of the things I do want to highlight too is, and one of the things that we're seeing as a company, a lot of times when we bring on Shopify clients, maintenance hours and those sort of things, or when we re-platform them from another platform, maintenance hours tend to go down. They aren't spending as much time on development. And this was a developer conference, and so it's kind of like, hey, what's going to happen to us? And so this was to kind of show, that there still is there's a big future, a bright future for Shopify developers. Looking at the growth metrics, they said that there was a 75% year over year increase on app installations. That lets you know that people, when they're coming to Shopify, they subscribe to that mentality, that SaaS mentality. They're trying to get out of custom development. They're trying to
Right.
rely on the app marketplace. And so they're continuing to install apps. And then also, just showing how the global market value grew, and it's just, again, highlighting how Shopify's continue to grow. We also talk about, significant white space for innovation, despite it being a mature platform. There still are areas in e-commerce. There still are complexities. Everyone's always going to have their, unique requirements. So you can find opportunities in those white spaces. And then talking about our POS systems that we were discussing earlier, Shopify's really leaning into it. And one of the things they showed us when we pulled up from the app was, how many POS apps are there? You could count it on one hand. So there's not a lot. So there's also a lot of opportunity there. And then the last thing that I wanted to point on this slide was the success story for this essential announcement bar. It's a very basic app that was installed. It's for promoting, having any sort of message at the top of your website. Not a whole lot to it, but it's one of the most downloaded apps on the marketplace because it's clean, it's efficient, it's easy to use too. So, from a developer standpoint, from an app maker standpoint, there's a lot of opportunity here. I think you need to get creative. I think you need to go out, you know, interview some e-commerce, agencies or clients, potential customers, and see what their needs are. See where there's opportunity, and maybe you can build something out there. And you can continue to grow it on Shopify, expand on it, and it could be really successful.
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever you have a pain point, right, there's always opportunity, and there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be change. Things evolve constantly. So, yeah, that's great. And then, a big piece of what was raised as well, and I know was part of the release, was improvements and further updates on the global expansion and localization and how to make that easier for customers and developers. So you made a couple of notes about this. Do you want to comment on those?
Of course, yeah. So they released a new theme called Rise. It supports Japanese font system and then any sort of enhanced localization, for that market. They've also um, started to integrate additional payment methods that aren't primarily within North America. And
Right.
then finally, they're allowing for localized improvements for things like cookie banners to allow you to translate those to, make sure that you meet any sort of compliance needs. And I think what I want to highlight from this is it's just also showing the same thing of more globalization, more spread, more opportunity. Us as a US based company, we have worked with companies outside of the United States,
Yeah.
and now we have tools to expand that, even further than what we've done right now. So it's a really exciting time. We can grow as a company. We can look to hire additional people in other markets. We can look for other clients in other markets. It's just overall, again, I think it just speaks to showing how much Shopify is really leaning into e-commerce and how they're growing and what they're kind of moving towards. All fascinating things.
Yeah, I mean, they are definitely eager and ready to continue to grow. So they're seeing those opportunities and definitely taking advantage.
They are for sure.
Hungry, hungry, hungry.
Well, it works for us too. I like it, and it was
Absolutely.
nice. Everything, all the presentations were fantastic to see. Getting to meet everyone there was awesome. Overall, it's really invigorating when you get to go to these conferences, and it helps create a lot of trust in these platforms. That we put a lot of trust in as well too. So
100%.
you
Yeah.
know, overall, it was a great experience. I loved it. I'm excited to go back next year. Maybe we can bring some additional developers with us next year, which would be fun as well too, and continue to kind of increase our presence in this same
Yeah.
ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely. And I know Gavin was there with you, and it's actually the first time you got to meet him in person. So that must have been fun. Awesome. So, any like final comments or suggestions to the group out here that's listening before we wrap up today?
I think, just trying to kind of stick on this point of topic, I think there's a lot of opportunity. Again, one of the things that we've been talking about with our clients when they come to SaaS is, really trying to remove us from the equation. But there
Right.
still are a lot of opportunities. You have to be proactive to go out and look for them, though. They're not going to find you.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, interview people, get included in this space. Talk to your coworkers, talk to others that work within Shopify, and just start asking questions. And I think you'll be able to find an opportunity, and I think you'll be able to push it. And Shopify is going to provide you with all the tools needed to move it forward. So again, reach out, give me a call. I'd love to chat about any of these sort of things. It's always fun to talk about this sort of stuff. I just want to continue to promote people to go towards, continue to innovate and really lean into Shopify as well too, because it's not going anywhere. It's only growing. And, we see that, and it's just going to be incredible to continue this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just heard someone else talking about how Shopify is on GitHub and how that community is evolving and people are communicating there and how their leadership is communicating in GitHub. So it's like just because they're SaaS doesn't, they're like evolving and growing in such a unique way now. I think that it's really interesting times. And if you can get invested and be seen and contribute to the platform, create apps. Like there's a lot of opportunity for you, if you want to take those steps. And for us as e-commerce experts, like we're growing in this community as well. Like our roots started in the Magento community, and now it's like kind of nice to see like a fresh new perspective on like how this community is growing and evolving from all the different people that are coming into it now. It's interesting to see how it will play out, but I can only see it making the community stronger and Shopify, because the more smart people you have in the room, the better you're going to be, right?
Yeah, there's no complaints here. And like I said, it was a lot of fun to go to and see that sort of thing. And yeah, I mean, I'm always excited to see what their next release is, this next quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, awesome. Well, I really appreciate you hopping in here, Chris, and giving us your thoughts. We always learn something new and exciting to see, what happens next. And then again, thank you everybody for joining. Just to wrap up, we have our next LinkedIn Live on August 8th. So stay tuned to that. We also have a number of events coming up in August. So we have eTail East. We also will be at the Retail Summit in Columbus. And I will be attending the Big Commerce Big Summit in Austin. So lots of good things happening at Shero. Really excited. We have lots of momentum going into the fall, busy season for everybody. If you ever have any questions, our team is always here to support you. Thank you again for joining. I'm Beth Shero. Always be learning.